What's going on, everyone? You are now tapped in with the Stamper podcast. What's going on, y'all? Long time no see. I got a very special guest in the building. We have Norma Guzman of Notary Meetup Academy. I appreciate you for coming by today. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm very excited, a little bit nervous, but I'm excited.
No need to be nervous. Yeah, we not. Yeah, like I said, this ain't TMZ. We ain't gonna get all up in your business. That's not what we do, you know. So again, I appreciate you for jumping on the show today. This is the first time I got the opportunity to talk to you. Like I said, just going through your page, like we was talking offline, you got some really dope content. You're doing some really great things in the space. And yeah, some things that on your page I want to talk about as well. And first things I always like to start off with is just asking, just give the people a brief story about yourself. How did you get into the notary business? Or what was you doing previously before getting into the notary business?
Okay, great question. So I have really a total of about 10 years in the real estate industry. I am currently a realtor, and I started with property management. I am a former loan officer, and I just kind of tried different things. I would say different jobs, and I just knew that I always loved people. I love helping people and serving. And so I was also an escrow assistant. That actually came after I became a notary, but really just that kind of helped to increase my knowledge and bring everything full circle in a real estate transaction. So yeah, I became a notary February of 2019. And I didn't know anyone else other than a friend and my mom's best friend. She's like an aunt to me. And but yeah, I didn't have anyone to really go to for questions or help. And so it was a much longer learning curve, I would say. And that's kind of what I'm here to do, and where the Notary Meetup Academy was born. Before it was called the Notary Meetup Academy. Yeah, I started teaching and for free, hosting free Zoom, classes, webinars, if you will. And I just finally decided to make it an actual academy this year.
That's dope. So you say you was a former loan officer. What was that experience like?
I did leave out Airbnb stuff too, because that was a little bit over a year. I was self-employed. I was consultant. But yeah, so as a loan officer, I went through, got my licensing. I worked with City Mortgage, but it was a call center at the end of the day. I didn't get to connect with people, in person. I am more of a face-to-face type of person. And so it was a little bit challenging for me. Also, I've dabbled with certain companies with trying to sell other products and services, and like MLM and things like that. And what I realized was I don't like to just sell something to someone that's not going to help or benefit them, right? I don't. And so as a loan officer, there were certain products or things that I just knew financially it was not going to benefit them. On the contrary, it was going to hurt them. And so it was kind of hard to sell to people when I knew their situation. I'm all in their business with their finances, their debts. And I decided to just go back to property management. And then that's when the opportunity came. Once I was laid off from there, I became a notary to have as a backup. And then that's when I started the Airbnb consulting.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. Now, speaking of Airbnb, like, how'd you get into that? Like, what was that? How'd you get into Airbnb?
So it's so crazy. I actually was thinking about this the other day. It was a former resident of mine. He lived at a property that I managed. It was a really nice high-rise property in the Houston area. I lived there, Houston area, for about a year. And he just always wanted to hire me. He always just said, "You are so smart, you have the right attitude." He just always wanted to convince me to go work with him. But as a single mom, I, didn't want to take that risk, not having a consistent income, something to fall back on. And so, yeah, we stayed in touch like I usually do with a lot of my residents on social media. And when I got laid off, I just happened to connect with him on Instagram, and we set up a meeting. I met with his partners, they're a team of investors, and told me everything he was doing. And they offered me consistent pay monthly on a contract, and then a bonus if I were to help them acquire more properties. And so I'm very good with sales, and I just began calling realtors, calling landlords, and pitching to them this idea of the arbitrage model, which is what I teach in my masterclass. And so, I just called and kind of pitched this idea to them, and I started helping them. And then I eventually went into the actual setup of the units. We started adding them, and so I would actually take over the entire project. And so they would look at me like I was crazy, because they would say, "How quickly can you get this set up?" I said, "I can do all 3 of these in a week." And they're like, "There's no way." I said, "Yeah, I have a strategy, I have a method, and I got it done." I did it multiple times in different markets. They were paying for my travel, so that was really nice to go to Washington, D.C., Vegas. We had one in Canada. So it was really cool to be more hands-on and, set up the teams, like literally from start to finish. It was amazing.
Now, I don't know if this is accurate, but do you actually have to own a property in order to generate income from Airbnb?
No.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So in my class, I teach the different methods, the different strategies. So if you wanted to, for example, you can co-host with someone. So let's say that I own a home and I don't really know anything about Airbnb or any of the other platforms, because Airbnb is just a platform, but most people understand it as Airbnb. You can actually choose to partner with someone as a co-host. And so this is why having skills is so big, right? You want to have a skill and that knowledge that no one can take away from you. If you get fired from a job, what do you actually have? Like, what are you good at? Right? So it's really just, what are you good at? Maybe you're really good at cleaning and you're good at decorating. And so you're this person that can take over the cleaning for that Airbnb, right? So maybe they have the capital to the actual money, and then you're putting in the labor. So that's one of the methods that I teach, that, that's one of your options.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I would have never known that. Like I said, I've come across like content about the Airbnb, some YouTube videos, but I just never really understood it. But the way you just broke it down just now, it's like, okay, that makes perfect sense.
Winners find a way.
That's a fact.
Winners always find a way. So I carry that with me, that thought, when I'm starting to make excuses, because I'm sometimes pretty good at that with things. And so winners find a way. And I just kind of help to show you those options. I made it very affordable because a lot of those courses are about $1,000. I actually had a former cleaner of mine. I just spoke with her, reconnected with her last Friday. And she said, "Norma, I wish I would have known that you had this. I would have just paid you, because you have taught me more than this program that these classes that I took." I was like, wow.
I know this may be a little off topic, but let's talk about the pricing of courses real quick. Now, I do come across people where they want thousands of dollars for courses, right? But then the person who's actually buying that course, they get that information, right? And then they find out that's not exactly what they paid for. But when you go to someone who may have an affordable course, they learn more information in the course when they may have paid $30 for it, more they would have paid thousands of dollars for it, right? Now, knowing what what made you decide to go to the route where say, I'm gonna make this more affordable, as opposed to I'm gonna just charge the value for what it is, whether it may be $800 up to $1,000?
Well, a lot of times, just as far as the pricing, I think it's about perceived value. I think people, when they see something that's more expensive, they immediately associate that with being higher value, and that's not correct. Some of us just genuinely want to help people. And I think the biggest area of opportunity for me is my sales copy. And so I'm reading books on understanding, sales copy and understanding it myself before I just delegate it to someone on Fiverr, right? Or someone online, because yes, I could hire someone to do that. However, how do I know that it's actually the message that I want to convey? How do I know that it's good enough, for me and what message I want to relay? And so, yeah, I think that some of these other masterclass, Airbnb classes charge more because that may be the only source of income on their business model. Maybe they offer coaching. And so within that program, I'm not sure. But I would say for me, I made it for notaries because there are notaries that maybe are doing loan signings. They're like, oh, I'm good. I don't need any accountability program. I don't need any more training. Yes, but you're still trading a lot of your time for money. And so I wanted to bring awareness and just bring an idea, right, for anyone who may have been curious with Airbnb. Hopefully you're making, income as a notary and you're setting some of that aside, or you're planning to, purchase a property, right? And you want to just always have another way to generate an income passively, right? People don't really understand the concept of the different types of incomes, right? Sources versus streams. I always teach this on my life. There's a source of income and then there's a stream. The stream of income is like Rafael and I, right? We educate. That's one pillar within our business model of what we do, right? I'm still a notary at the end of the day. I still have to go out and notarize stuff, right? But that's a stream. So one of the streams, the other stream, hosting events or whatever that looks like for you, podcasts, and so that's what I wanted to teach was, as a notary, hey, you don't have to have any accolades, any credentials to do this. So just get creative, right? And then you have someone that's teaching you everything you need to know to get started. Literally, if you just take my class to learn the basic information, you can go out there and get it. I think people sometimes overcomplicate things. Like, it doesn't take all that, right? You work with what you have, start with where you're at. And that's what I teach my students. Like, there are programs out here that just either overpromise and underdeliver. They just overcomplicate it. And it's like, we don't need all that fluff.
Right.
Bells and whistles is great. But at the end of the day, if you understand money, you know that it's all about your return on your investment. I'll stop right there. But yeah, return on your investment.
You talking that talk? Yeah. Hope y'all listen. That's pretty dope. So transitioning to, like I said, I'm like floored away right now as far as what you're talking about, as far as the Airbnb, because I wasn't expecting that, right? So transitioning on into the notary business, I know you were a former escrow assistant, right? So talk about how did you get into that space, and then how did you use that experience, leveraging that experiences to help you become using that experience to help you become a notary?
So I was actually a notary, like I said before, I was a notary a year and a half before I started working there. And so someone saw me on Instagram. This is the power of, just word of mouth and of posting online. It was my personal Instagram page. I didn't even have a business page or business name. And I just said, I'm so excited. I took a picture of my journal and my notes. I said, I'm so excited to be learning. I will be offering loan signing services soon. I'm becoming a notary signing agent and / loan signing agent. That's literally all I posted. And there was a childhood friend of mine. I hadn't spoken to her in years. It's just kind of, a family friend that you see at birthday parties and just kind of from a distance. So she noticed that and reached out to me and said, hey, My mom and I work at a title company now. She said, my mom is the scheduler and I'm, an escrow assistant. I said, oh, okay. And I got a little bit scared because I'm like, well, I'm not ready yet. So she said, I told my manager about you. I think you're awesome. So I would love for you to talk to her and see how she can help you. I said, okay, great. I said, well, by faith, I'll just call her. She's waiting for my call. I said a quick little prayer. And I spoke to the escrow officer who is the manager. She actually managed 3 offices. And so that's where she told me, come on into the office. She said, girl, you don't need to have a certification or do anything to offer loan signing services. I'm like, what? I was like, I thought I had to have my actual certification because I told her I haven't taken my exam yet. I have like one more module left, to watch.
Right.
And so she said, no, you don't need that. That's optional. That's, because some title companies want you to have that and want you to have a specific coverage with your insurance. I said, okay. So I went to the office. She gave me a loan package and said, here, just study it, read it, practice. Didn't teach me anything, but, I'm like, I got this. So I just spoke out loud, practicing. Again, I didn't have anyone to talk to. That's why I do one-on-one mock signings, because I know how valuable it is to practice. And so I just basically taught myself. She did actually let me witness a closing. And it was a Spanish-speaking notary, which is, again, what my passion is, Spanish, because that can be a niche in itself.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I got to watch her do one in Spanish, and then another one in English, I believe. So I learned very fast. It was in the same day. It was one day. So within a week, I took my first closing appointment. So I just went out and did it. Like, I winged it.
But you didn't do any studying, studying, no guys?
Well, I had done the NNA, like I said,
Okay.
but within that week, I literally went and after I met with her, I finished my, I did my exam, passed it, because in Texas, it's open book. So it was just like, and again, my background in real estate and as a loan officer, I understood a lot of these terms. So it really helped, but you don't have to have that, knowledge. It just helps.
Right.
So yeah, so I was able to take on my first appointment. I had already passed my exam. I had my background check done and everything. So, and then once I was doing a lot of closings for them, people kept requesting me at different offices. I was all over the place. So they kept me pretty busy, but there was one problem. The invoices were not getting paid and the bills don't stop, because the bills due now, not later.
Right.
Right. So as a single mom, I'm like, well, who am I? Do I need to look for a sugar daddy? What do I need to do? No. But so I said, okay, just the survivor warrior that I am, I was like, okay, there has to be a way. I got to figure out a way to get this money by tomorrow. Right. So a lot of the escrow officers said, Norma would be really great and you need help. And they just kept telling the manager, you should hire Norma. She's really great. So I said, you know what? I said, I don't want to work for anybody. But finally, like I said, when the bills are due, reality hits, I went ahead and just, I said, okay, I'll send you my resume. After about a month and a half going back and forth, I said, fine. They offered me a position with higher pay because I already knew. So typically an escrow officer is the one who conducts the closing, right? And so it was a little bit easier for them to pay me a little bit more because I already had the experience of conducting the actual closing, right? I'm already commissioned. So they probably figured, hey, we could just have an in-house notary to do all of our closings.
That's a cheap damn near.
Yes. And that's where, I would warn notaries to be real careful, because I think sometimes when you're feeling vulnerable, sometimes you tend to make some dumb decisions when you're feeling vulnerable. And so it was a wise choice, because what I told myself was, okay, I'm going to take this, but this is temporary, right? I always had that in the back of my mind. This is something that will teach me more. I will get an insight, get more insight from the title company. And this will help me to just be a better notary signing agent, right? And it did.
Yeah.
So at that point, that's when, you know, I picked up very quickly, you know, being able to open orders, do the title searches, you know, prepare the title work, prepare the actual closing documents, which a closer is supposed to do, because I was already training to get my license. I think it got to a point where, because I got my real estate license, and some people may know, but my husband, now husband, we just got married, is a real estate attorney. And so, thank you. He needed help in the law firm, so I was doing that also. And so I think they may have felt that it was a little bit too much on my plate. Didn't affect my job in any way, but unfortunately I was let go. And that's something I don't really share a lot. I'm being very vulnerable here, but it's just a reminder that when people are, you know, either threatened by you, or they're sick of you, or they just personally don't like you, whatever, no explanation is needed, right? In my case, no reason was given, no explanation, just, hey, turn in your equipment. I'm like, well, y'all could have told me before I started my shift, but let me go turn my stuff in. You know, but everything happens for a reason. I always say, you know, that was the push that I really needed to start in real estate. I got my first client that following Monday. So
I appreciate you for sharing that. Yeah, that's not an easy situation to deal with. If they just let you go and they don't even give you a heads up, or anything, just, hey, here goes your walking papers, right? So interesting. So I want to double back real quick, because you said something that was really important, doing mock signings. I think that's really important, because I come across a lot of notaries, especially when I was focusing on loan closings, where they get the documents and we're missing all kind of signatures on these specific pages. They're having the clients filling out their name in the wrong spots. And so I think it's really important for notaries to do mock signings, because you want to have an understanding of that process, whether if you have a client sitting in front of you, or if you're dealing with two signers, you want to have one man on the side of you, you want to have them on the other side as well. So you have a rotation of how you're going to bring the documents, how you're going to stack them, and how you're actually going to explain the purpose of these documents as well. Because if you're just going into it blindly, right, you have, especially if you haven't been studying as well, you're going to really piss the client off, because they're expecting you to be the professional. They're expecting you to know how to handle the situation if you've been in these situations before. So I appreciate you for sharing that, because that's really important. Is at least I recommend doing at least 5 mock signings before you actually get to the signing table. It's gonna be a little nerve-wracking. You in these signers' homes, you know, it's some of the largest some of the largest transactions that they're ever going to make in their life. So you don't want to be the notary that's messing up those documents. You don't want to be that one, because more times than not, even when you do get that first shot, that could potentially be your first and last if you don't do this right.
Literally, that did happen in the title company. I did play a role in kind of selecting who we sent out and who we didn't send back out. And a lot of times, you know, the client will tell on you. The customer, the signer will tell on you as a notary. Like, if you know, I know you may think, oh, it's just you and the signer, but if you're not professional, if you don't dress professionally, all of those little details, like you said, the command of the closing, you know, you are in charge of the closing, and they're depending on you, relying on you to take ownership. And so, yes, definitely. Like, there were a lot of compliments that I received, and what caused people to, and, you know, of course, even now, to compliment me or to request me back is because they said, wow, you're very organized, right? Just having, and I didn't have all of the bells and whistles, like they say. I didn't have anything fancy. And that's what I teach, is stop allowing those little extra details stop you from just going out there and doing it, because a positive attitude, organization, right? All of these skills that you have are enough, right? Later, once you get that check, you can go buy the other name tag, or, you know, whatever you wanted to kind of upgrade to. But I think just work with the basics with what you have, and that's enough. And that's why it was a little bit confusing when I would see, you know, people kind of preaching, oh, well, you have to have this or you have to have that. And it was very weird because I'm like, well, I didn't have any of that. And I was very successful in doing that. And, I was able to very quickly make $10,000, like it was not anything out of the ordinary. I think it was just, again, having a positive attitude, and ultimately it's mindset too, right? If you're going in there and you're like, oh, I'm really nervous, I don't know what I'm doing, like
It's going to show.
they sense that. They will literally pick up on that, right? And sometimes you have to really fake it till you make it. I was kind of fake confident, but not really, right? Because where does the confidence come from? The confidence comes from knowledge, right? You know who you are, you know what you have to offer, you know that you know this stuff. So what do you have to worry about, right? And you're taking your time, you have the technique, like you said, having the papers organized, the way that they're seated, right? I always say trust but verify. So when you grab that document after they sign, verify. So just little things like that that I teach that really make a big difference.
Right. Now at the end of the signing, when the notary has completed it, now you being a former assistant, now is the client actually reaching out to you, the assistant, or they actually reaching out to the actual escrow officer?
Oh, now that they've met, a lot of them have contacted me directly and became my clients.
Really?
Literally, like even on the real estate right now, I have a few clients that are, investors that called me directly. Yeah. They followed me. So even though I wouldn't be able to necessarily assist them with closing, at the title company, but I'm able to assist with property management services and things, really consulting, because they're like, what do I do? This tenant doesn't want to pay, or can you help me, with this? And like I said, because my husband is, I also help him in the law firm. If they have something that I, as a notary, cannot do, or I, as a realtor, cannot do, they would be billed, and he would prepare the document for them. Yeah.
So one thing, a common thing that I'm hearing, throughout this conversation is your relationship building skills, your ability to, build those relationships and maintain them. Like, how did you build that skill set? Because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. Like, they know how to reach out to folks, like they know how to do that first part, but as far as following up and doing those things to maintain the relationship, following up, just checking in every now and then, like that's sorely missing. So can you talk about how your ability to actually pull this off?
It's several things. One of them is a gift. I think that God gives, I'm sure you saw my bio, but everyone has a gift. And I guess I never realized what that was. I didn't get the gift of singing or that, but I guess I got the gift of gab, right? It's not just talking, but I think it's just also personality and just who I am. Like, I think it goes down to your heart. I think my heart has pure intentions. I genuinely want to help people. I want to see them win, whether, just whatever situation they have. If I know something, I kind of make it my job to help them. I love to be the connector. If you've read The Go-Giver,
great book.
Yes, I'm like, wow, the connector. Like, I guess that's really me. That's what I am. I've connected a lot of people, together, and I do the same with notaries. I'm like, I want to know where they're located. If they need something, please let me know. If I am not able to assist, here's a notary in your area. That way I don't have to charge you a large travel fee, right? Here's someone that's closer to you. And it's just reciprocated. I think that what you are is really what you attract more of. If you're honest, if you really genuinely care for people, that's really what you attract more of. And I think that just they gravitate, towards me, I gravitate towards them, and it's a win-win. So, and then, if there's people that don't want to work with me, they don't like me for whatever reason, then that's on them. But, I've even had people that, I don't, and it's hard to explain, because I'm like, well, I don't know why they want or trust me, but I do know the 3 factors, right? People work with who they like, know, and trust. That like, know, and trust factor is huge, right? They may not ever need your notary services, but they like you, they know you now, right? You're connected maybe on social media. And so naturally trust falls into that, falls, after that. So it just kind of follows. It's like a domino effect, right?
Right.
So naturally they're like, well, Norma is always kind and respectful. So, and she dresses professionally. She always carries herself well. Yeah, if someone needs a notary, I'm definitely going to recommend Norma, right? Anytime they think of notary, they think of Norma the notary. And so I think that's, yeah, hopefully I answered that,
Yeah,
right?
it does. It definitely answers the question. And I always tell notaries that, and it's something that it took me a while to understand, is that the notary business is really a relationship business, similar to real estate. It's not something where obviously they can reach out to you if they find your website, but for the most part, like working with, building like that clientele, the repeat clients, that's all relationship building. Like making sure you're connecting the dots, adding value, and as you said, being a connector. As for instance, if I know a financial advisor, they're setting up a life insurance policy for their clients. Obviously, the next steps will be you want to make sure they set up a living trust. Well, I know a estate planning attorney who could help you out with that. So that's about connecting those dots, and then you create those win-win situations at the end of the day. So yeah,
Yes. And attention to detail. I would say people love when you remember things about them. And so just like, their birthday, and that's why I do like Facebook. Being friends on Facebook too, it reminds you of their birthday. So
underrated feature. I love that. You can't miss no birthdays with Facebook.
right. So and then I use Community. I don't know if you use Community.
What's that?
It's a community app, so you can text your students, your clients, if you want to use it for your clients. So when they register, it has their location, their demographics, so you can see their birthday. And so it's funny because I'll send a message like happy birthday, and it's like 2 people, but I have to wait for them to respond to see like whose birthday it was. Or you can just click on the name and it'll show you their birthday. But I think if you as a notary are generating enough income, you can also invest into community. So for example, you go shopping and they say text the word notary to this number or to enter to win or to get this percentage off. And so it's something similar to that. And then you have their information so you can remember those details about them.
And I think that's so key to at least have some type of outreach where, you get where they get their phone number or the email. Because, as a notary, if they reach out to us, it's not every day that someone needs a notary, but it's always going to be, it's every day someone's going to need a legal document notarized. But those same clients, it's not typical that they're going to reach out every single day, right? So you want to at least be able to at least touch base with them, whether it's every month, every 2 or 3 months or so. You just want to check in and say, hey, how's everything going? Just wanted to touch base with you because it's been a while since we last talked. And it's great to have those type of apps like Community, like you said, because you want to be able to stay in touch with them, which is, like I said, that's really difficult. Just, we got the client, but how do we, maintain that relationship so we can continue to earn their business moving forward?
Yes. Like that. And I think you also train people like indirectly, because most people know that I'm not a big texter. I'm not a big, if you're my personal friend, we don't talk every day. I'm just such a busy person that I'm very intentional with my time. I work 7 days a week, like not kidding. It's going to change soon, but yeah, I work 7 days a week. I mean, honestly. So as a friend, I don't have time to maybe call every day, check in. But like I said, some of these contacts, it was just, they just liked me. And then it just kind of led to, they knew if they needed something that I'm knowledgeable enough in that area that they can count on me, they can call me. So it's also your willingness to help them in that time and go above and beyond, right? And I think also taking time to educate them, because maybe they didn't know. Like I've had so many people at a loan signing say, wow, this is our 3rd time refinancing and I've never had anybody even attempt to tell us what's going on or show us anything. And mind you, it's just literally pointing to the document and helping them to understand these are your loan terms, right? Very basic information, but it goes a long way because something that you're doing is maybe something they're not used to. Even yesterday, I had a nursing home appointment, and I put, actually, no, it was Monday or so, and I put him under oath, and I had him raise his right hand, and he's like, wow, he's like, I've never had a notary do that. And so it was so funny. And he's like, okay, yeah, like, I don't know, they just like respect me more because I take my job seriously. I think that's what it is. So
Yeah, that attention to detail is so key, and I think that's what stumbles a lot of notaries. Like I said, it's just more than just signatures, initials, or documents. I can't tell you how many times I've hired a notary and just they don't double check the documents, and they just miss that one initial, whether it been on the 1003 or if it was the what document? That's a document where the latest one, the newest uniform, the old 1003. You just need the initial at the bottom, but now they got it like in the middle of the document. Now,
if they're intending to apply joint, using joint credit.
And you would think they wouldn't miss something like that, but like I said, that paying attention to detail, that could be the difference between them either calling you back or you never hearing from them again. So,
right.
Yeah. Definitely. So let's talk about this one question I always like to ask. So, like, what were some of your earliest challenges, starting out in the notary business?
Ooh, I would say just not having accountability, having support. And I don't know if it's just like I remember when everything started popping up. Like, I remember when everybody was becoming a notary, and I don't know. Yeah, like, it's weird because I was like, oh, well, where was all this when I needed it? Which is great, it's wonderful. But I didn't have that. I didn't have anyone even willing to sit down with me like I do with my students and say, hey, well, call me if you need help, or when you're going to an appointment, just take it and then I'll help you. Or, I didn't have that. And I didn't know the possibilities of everything that I could do. I didn't look at it as a business. I really just kind of treated it like I'm just a notary. So once I started the loan signings and I took that training, that was actually the first really any type of training I did. Everything else was directly on the Secretary of State website. Some YouTube videos, I really didn't see a lot, and maybe I didn't YouTube enough, but it was from the NNA. And that's how I learned, was going straight to the Secretary of State and just reading, and understanding that. So I would say my challenge definitely was not having mentorship or guidance, resources, all the things that we have now.
Yeah, I think that's so true, because back in, I want to say 2016, 2017, there may have been a few people out, probably a handful that I knew of that was actively like teaching people how to do it. But it seemed like, in my opinion, in 2020, it seemed like that changed the game, because it seemed like everyone got into the business. It seemed like it was a refinance, like by the minute. And it seemed like,
because the rates dropped, so everybody was like, oh my gosh, and people were panicking and not wanting to go into offices. I remember I was scared to go outside because I was like, oh, isn't it airborne? But and it actually, that was right when the pandemic hit. I remember because I just remember seeing all the cancellations. We had a lot of guests coming from China for a conference in Vegas. And I just knew when I started seeing all the cancellations for the bookings, I was like, my contract was going to end. I just knew they weren't going to renew it. So that's when I actually went ahead and took that leap of faith, and I paid for the loan signing training, because I was like, well, I've been notarizing, I had been doing divorces, general affidavits, things like that. And so then that's when I was like, okay, let me learn and add to this skill, and because I had thought about it for like 6 months.
So
but I knew
what? Now I was gonna ask you, so you started off doing more like general notary work first before you got into loan signings.
Oh yeah, definitely. I had a very good understanding, and that's how I think. I still made mistakes, don't get me wrong, but it was, for one, I didn't use my little rubber fingertip at the time. I don't know why, that just makes a huge difference. it helps me to shuffle paper so much faster. But you know, I didn't have and so I wasn't used to these large documents, you know, because it was just one or two pages here and there. And I had done, you know, just power of attorney, there's a lot of divorces and documents like that. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I think it's so important for notaries to actually invest in themselves in these trainings, whether it's mine or yours or wherever training is available. And the reason why is, you know, yeah, we know our laws, we know how to get our commission, but it's like, okay, once we got our commission, we got our stamp, you know, we are excited, you know, what's the next steps? Because no one is sticking their neck out to actually try to, you know, help you out unless you're willing to actually put yourself out there and ask for that help. So I think it's
Right.
really important for, yeah, especially newer notaries to like invest in the training, whether it's spending time on YouTube, reading books, or just finding someone that's actually, or find someone that's actually doing the business. Not someone
Right.
online that's, you know, that just read a couple of Google articles and say, hey, y'all, I can do this. No, actually find someone that's actually doing this. And if they're actually on social media, look at the content as well. So yeah.
Yes, I'm getting better about content. I've just been more on the back end, and actually I would say my excuse for not really posting is because I'm busy in real life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying
It
that people
happens.
that post aren't, they're
Yeah.
just better with their strategy of you know, recording content ahead of time. So, but I also knew and understood funnels. I had invested into a lot of marketing classes. And so I'm like, well, what is this leading to?
Yeah.
I mean, I can get all the attention. I had a video during the pandemic that went viral on TikTok, a silly dancing video that I had 3 followers, and then my friend's like, oh my gosh, look at your video. I'm like, what? She's like, now you have this many likes and followers. And I'm like, okay, but
Yeah.
what does that lead to? That doesn't translate to coins. So where the money at? You know, that's my whole thing is, you know, I need to have a product, and then I need to be able to upsell, and then how do they continue, right? So there's a lot of things that goes beyond just social media and having fun. I'm like, okay, that's fine if I'm gonna put myself out there, but I need to have a product.
Right.
I need to have something that they can. I'm like, these people in this other state may not need a notary, you know? And so that was kind of my thought process, was not to, I like to think big, and I like to be multiple steps ahead, I would say. So yeah, but going back to when you said about the notary laws, you know, some states like here in Texas, we don't have to take a test, right, to become a notary.
Really?
And so, and
Lucky.
you don't even have to have a knowledge or understanding of the laws at all. You literally fill out your application, you pick your supplies. You don't have to have E&O, right? So a lot of times people just get their bond, $10,000 coverage bond, and wait for your application to be approved, as long as you don't have any moral turpitude. And then you have your commission, you print that out, take it to a notary to administer your oath, and you don't even send it back in, you just hang on to it. That's it. And that's where my education started, of teaching other people, because when I was at the title company, I started realizing, wait a minute, this is a basic question.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I'm like I said, I had already a basic understanding, because I had been notarizing for a year and a half, you know, and so very part-time, and you know, but I already knew what I was doing. I knew I could strike through an initial. I knew I could, or I needed to attach right, the loose leaf certificate. I knew those things, and a lot of notaries that were coming in had no idea, and they would call and you know, call the office, and I'm like, I keep answering the same question. They keep missing the same documents. How can I help to, just in general, how can I help not only them, but other people? Because I'm like, they're going to be just as lost as I was. And it shouldn't take someone a whole year and a half or a whole year to master this. You know, that was my thing, was help them to cut that learning curve and to avoid those common mistakes. So that's where, you know, trial and error. And I said, that's how I'm able to be the teacher that I am, because I'm like, oh, I already know they're probably missed something on this. They don't understand this or that.
So. Yeah, that's interesting, because I used to be like flabbergasted, like some of the things that I would come across, because I get scan backs. Well, I run a notary agency, so when I asked for notaries to get, give us scan backs, and I would look at them, I was like, what, huh? How did you miss this? But again, like you said, there's some states where, they don't need to know the laws in particular. So, as soon as they get commission, it's like, hey, are you available? Yeah, I'll take it. And they don't have no sort of formal training on how to actually execute those documents. So again, training programs, like say, like you have or myself have, very important, to participate in those.
Absolutely.
I also want to talk about this because I'm hopefully you can expand.
I was like, I'm scared. What's he gonna ask me?
No, I was gonna ask you.
This is not scripted, y'all.
Right. So I know you're bilingual.
Yes.
And can you please talk about how it why it's so important for notaries to at least add on a second language? Because I'll tell you a quick story. I was looking for a notary. I had a signing in San Antonio, and this is for a Spanish speaking signing. And I'm looking at my network. I have no one in San Antonio. I didn't know anyone that was a Spanish speaking notary. So
I was like, I have a few of my students.
Please, after this call, please put me in touch with them, because they're so hard to come by. And when you can get a bilingual notary, it's like everything, right? And then on top of that, there's an upsell to that as well. I've come across some notaries who charge to actually charge for their Spanish speaking skills. And that notary, it took me, I think I made about 50, I think I sent out 57 text messages just to find one Spanish speaking notary for a signing for that signing I have. And
wow.
It was so frustrating. So can you talk about why notaries should at least try to pursue being bilingual, and then by them being bilingual, they're going to be in high demand just off that one skill?
Yes. So I actually, the idea was born because it's actually launching, the doors open tomorrow, 22nd. But I have that because there are actually a lot of us that are first generation American that, don't know how to explain professionally the documents. They don't, because we don't use the word escrow in our everyday language. Nobody really talks about that stuff, or like, what is it? And so I think it's important, if you already speak Spanish, but you're not that great at it, or you're like, well, I wouldn't even know how to say this word. I actually had created a freebie. Not a lot of people downloaded it, and I thought it was great, but that's how it is as an entrepreneur. You put stuff out there and people don't really see the value until it's popular, maybe. But I created a Spanish real estate freebie. It's just a sheet that you can download. And so I created it for realtors if they, speak Spanish, but they aren't really sure and they're maybe starting out, and for notary and loan signing agents. So all of the more common terms are there. And then I also have some tips because, for example, in the state of Texas, we are prohibited from advertising in Spanish the word notary public. So when you translate that, and I'm sure in other states is the same as well, because in other countries in Latin America, at least I only can speak for, Latin American countries, but they are an attorney. They have power to, draft documents, give legal advice, and so on. So but having that skill, speaking another language, it's invaluable. It's amazing. Like, I have had jobs that have paid me more. And so I actually wrote down a little note when you said charging more for Spanish, because we are hard to come by. And not only that, I'll say this, I've taken a Spanish appointment a few weeks ago where they literally called me from the signing service twice and said, hi, we just want to confirm that you actually speak Spanish. I'm like, yes. And I'm thinking, Carol, how do you know I speak Spanish? But I'm like, how do you know? How will they know? How will they know? Right. So, but I think it's definitely important to not only to just say that you speak Spanish. You don't want to be falsely advertising that you speak Spanish, and then you show up to someone who literally doesn't speak English and they're looking at you like, what? Right? You want to be prepared. You don't want to say that you speak Spanish and not actually even know how to explain those documents. So that's the reason for the program. I want to kind of get my crew together, all my Spanish speakers. So I would love to share the information of the ones that are, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth. I do have 2 in San Antonio.
Yeah, I'm all yeah. I am like bilingual, trilingual. I'm always looking for them because yeah. After that experience, I was like, nope, I don't ever want to be in a position where I gotta actually search one, like make that many phone calls. One of the and that was the and before that, I had a signing with who was that? I had a signing with North American title, and they needed me to find a Spanish speaking notary. So I was like, okay. I mean, I'm here in California. We have a huge Latin population. So I was like, oh, that should be pretty easy. It took me an hour and a half to actually find one. And then the ones I did reach out to, they're like, oh, I charge $50 or I charge $50 to use that skill. I'm like, oh, you cutting into my profit. I want to use it, but I can't actually use you, right? So when I actually did find someone, they were like, oh, you took too long. We ended up finding a notary or using one of our notaries.
Wow. Well, see, and I think two things came to mind. I think that's why I am so big on networking, because I was able to help a fellow notary twice already, but the second time wasn't for Spanish. It was because he wasn't available. But he was on Instagram and posted that he needed someone to translate a document. And I'm like, well, you can do it yourself. I'll show you, because that's me, again, how I am. But he wouldn't have known whether it was right or wrong. And so I was able to, even though he could have done it, right? It's free, go into Word. I taught someone else that, but you don't know if the words are conjugated, if they conjugate properly or not. And so I had to go in and edit a few words, but yeah, it's wonderful because you can help more people. And like you said, you can charge more, but that's also an opportunity. Okay, as a Spanish speaking notary, if you would have contacted me, I would have said, Rafael, thank you so much for contacting me. Now, I normally charge $50. However, in the spirit of working with you, I hope that we do continue this relationship. And in the future, please keep me in mind. I'll waive the $50 for you, and then I'll just charge you the regular fee. Would you have been more willing to contact me again and work with me if I said that?
Absolutely, no question. So
that's just my mindset is, remember we talked about return on investment, right? It's not always because we live in a microwave society, right? Everything is fast, everything is now. We got these pressure cookers and these all kinds of things that we can get from point A to point B much quicker, right? But we lose a lot of value when we are so big on just quick results, right?
I want it now.
Yes. So I think, just thinking about long-term versus short-term, what are the benefits, right? If I go to this networking event and I meet people, they may not contact me tomorrow, right? But if I keep nurturing that relationship, there might be something that comes, but we have to separate ourselves from the outcome. We must separate ourselves from the outcome. Right? Because like in real estate, we call it commission breath. They know that you're connected to the outcome because you're like, we don't get paid until the deal closes, right? So we as notaries are like, well, are they going to call me tomorrow when I go into a title company and market my services? Or, is me going here going to have them call me for services within the next week? Probably not. Right. And there have been people even now, I just did a one-on-one call with someone that has been following me since like January, before I even had my academy officially launched. And guess what? I don't know what's going on right now, the weather or what. I had another few people reach out to me that I spoke to from December, January, right? And so they're, again, like seeds that are being planted, right? You water them, takes time, but I didn't even, mind you, I did not nurture that relationship. I sat in their message request, right? Because they saw the post, someone commented they wanted to have a side hustle idea. I suggested, why don't you try becoming a notary, right? And so a bunch of messages just came. And so I actually did get some students from that, which is great. And then the ones that didn't now are coming back, reaching out. Maybe it's because they see my professional photos. They see, wow, like she's popping, or whatever the case is, it doesn't matter. It's the point is that it may not be right now, but it could be in the future. And guess what? You may have a person that is a personal walking ambassador for your business. They may not personally need notary services. However, they are the person, when someone comes to them needing a notary, they're going to point right back to you, right?
Yep.
Oh, I met this wonderful notary. She's lovely. You know, he was so nice. And, you know, he told me he's a mobile notary, so he can come to you. His name's Rafael, and he has a signing service, whatever, right? So that's what I mean by that return on your investment. Is it may not happen right now, right? Maybe in the future, but was it worth going to that $5, $10 networking event? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you made this money back, and not only that, but you have referrals, and that's how you grow your pipeline or your, you know, your audience.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a whole lot of gems in there. A lot of gems in there. I appreciate you for sharing that. Speaking of your academy, just tell the people about the Notary Meetup Academy. What was the inspiration behind it, and then for, you know, what can people expect when they do decide to enroll in your academy?
Yes, so it's actually so I have several classes in there, but my first program that is actually ongoing right now, it's a 90-day accountability program. Because remember when we talked about in the beginning, I said I lacked accountability. I didn't have anyone in my corner. So that's what I do. And we meet once a week for accountability. We have training throughout the month, and it's just one fee. It's very affordable. And so I'm doing the same thing, but for bilingual Spanish, because like you said, being a bilingual Spanish notary is huge. And so maybe they're not a notary yet. They want to get started. So to jumpstart their business, or maybe they've been a notary for years and literally never made any money. So this is to hold them accountable, give them all the information, tools, resources that they need. It launches tomorrow. So I'll say doors open tomorrow, open enrollment, and then they will close August 1st. So a short window. I like to keep the group small. I did have to refund some people that signed up way too late. But this time I have it set up properly where the doors will actually close, and it's at my discretion. If it's, you know, you're like, well, I get paid on Friday, just DM me, reach out to me, and I can, you know, make an exception if you only miss 1 or 2 meetings. But yeah, and it's only $37 a month. I wanted to keep it affordable, especially if you're having to invest into a printer, scanner, or, you know, your other tools and supplies. And so you do also have access to my Notary Basics class. I think it's important. It's me recording, you know, I recorded myself teaching with the PowerPoint. It's a little bit different than what you get with probably the NNA or Secretary of State, because again, I really break it down in there. And so I think it's very valuable. And like I said, I'll help with those Spanish terms that maybe they don't know. And accountability, like I said, once a month training, and they'll have an exclusive, it's all already set up, but they're opening tomorrow. I do have an assistant that has been helping me. She's amazing. The private Facebook group. And then I'm trying to figure out what to call them, being very vulnerable here, but calls with me. So if, let's say you have an appointment and you're like, what was that word again? I don't remember, or how do, you know, what do I say? And so that has happened multiple times with students within the program that like, I just need help. So that's, like I said, one of the programs, the Spanish, bilingual Spanish accountability program for 90 days. And then I also have, this is just, it hasn't launched, but I'm working on a membership, because there are students that I taught last year, like literally I still have students that remember from like January, February of last year. And I taught for free. I spent a lot of hours. And so a lot of them just kind of getting them back on track. The membership would just be the calls with me and a separate private Facebook group. And that's monthly. So it's just an ongoing subscription like you would pay for the gym or something to have that. Because I know there's membership with like the NNA and there's all these other resources, but you know, sometimes you just want that one person that you really know and trust, that has the experience, and is kind of there just, again, as a supporter. I'm a personal cheerleader for all my students, because I really feel when they win, I win.
Yeah.
but yeah, and that's what I have so far. I do also have a virtual, we'll call it summit or conference, where I will have an attorney speaking. Y'all know my husband's an attorney, but I may have someone else also just giving information on just running your business as a business, because I think that's a huge problem. Is we come in thinking, oh, well, I'm just a notary, right? And then you don't think about how are you going to profit, and we get lost in analysis paralysis, and we consume a lot of information, but we don't actually put it to use. We don't apply it. And so hopefully this will be beneficial to people, regardless if they're in my program or not. It's virtual, so anyone can attend, and it'll just be all the aspects of running a business, which we have to wear many hats.
A whole lot of hats, man.
So yeah, so I'm looking for people to help, and I do have a couple people in mind for like business credit and things that we have to think about as business owners, right? And someone who is really an expert in that. I'm not an expert in it. I am building my business credit. I have business credit cards, but in accounts, but I'm not an expert enough to teach it. I won't teach anything. My students know this. I do not teach anything unless I've mastered it.
Same here.
If I'm great at what I do, I'm excellent and I'm very knowledgeable, I'll teach it. Otherwise, I won't even feel right charging you for something that I don't know.
Right.
The blind leading the blind. We're not doing that. So
I think that's so important. Like, yeah, if you're not well versed in that field, or you wasting your time, and you wasting the person who needs that help, their time as well. So stay in your lane. I'm really big on staying in your lane. Like I said, I'm not an expert on business credit, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not an expert on government contracts, so why am I going to talk about it? But you know what I do know? How to launch a notary agency. I can talk about estate plan documents. I can talk about how to notarize legal documents. Outside of that, I'm gonna stay in pocket. I don't know much about apostilles. I don't know much about weddings, but I know people who are experts in that space. I can bring those people in, and they can talk to you about it. As far as me specifically talking about it, no, I'll be wasting your time.
Right, and that's really what I hope people take away from this, is that just start with the skills that you have, like, and you can bring that into the notary space. So that's where that Airbnb idea, the Meetup Academy, right? I have a way of helping people to understand things in just in a simplified way, like it's not overcomplicated. And again, just bringing my experience. I speak Spanish. I can help with that, right? I've done hundreds of Spanish closings. I can help with that, right? And so it's, before you were a notary, you were something, right? Were you a really good salesperson? Whatever those skills are. And that's the beauty of this industry, is that you can have your own niche. You can make it whatever you want it to be. I have for example, I've hosted a vision board party for the last, I think, 5 years for my friends and people at church, and single moms, and so now I'm hosting a notary vision board party the last quarter of the year, right? So there's just a lot of great things that I'm like, wow, like I can bring that into this space, right? Because it's going to benefit them. It's a business at the end of the day, whether you want to look at it that way or not. It is a business. If you want to make money as a business, you have to run it like a business. Point blank, period. Like there's no way that you can just continue. And then not only that, but that's again with the Airbnb thing. I was like, well, even if you are like, you see people, 7,000, 10,000 a month, but it also has to be something that is sustainable. It's very exhausting running back and forth. And I decided that I don't want to keep doing that. I don't. It's hot. I'm tired. Paper and then cancellations, and I'm not being negative, but I had to have a heart-to-heart with myself. Let me be honest. Is it something? No. So now I'm like, well, with everything that I have going on, Ron is my next goal, right? To be excellent at it. Right now, I have someone waiting on me to go ahead and upload my credential. I was having issues with the certificate. I've had it for now. I just renewed again for the Ron, right? But I don't actually do them. I've done the practice run, and now they're like, we need a Spanish speaking Ron. Like, can you get on the platform ASAP? I'm like, okay. So they're kind of waiting on me, literally. So yeah, it's just, you know, the possibilities are endless in this industry. And I just, I'm done speaking. I'm like rambling on.
No, but I do appreciate you for sharing that. I appreciate you sharing that because people need to know these things. Like I said, like yeah, Spanish speaking skill. Yeah, that's really a big deal. And like I said, I mean, for those of you out there that's looking to start your notary agency, trust me, once you get that request for a Spanish speaking notary, you're gonna feel my pain when you don't have your network ahead of time. Because I always encourage notaries, if you're going to start your agency, at least start before you get that first signing, start building up your network, start reaching out to other notaries within the area because you actually want to be able to we already have one available as soon as they request one. Because I promise you, if you don't do it, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to find a Spanish speaking notary. So do your work ahead of time.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
just wrapping up, one question I always like to ask is, where do you see your business in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see your notary business going? Or if you anticipate on yourself still being a notary within that time frame?
Great question. I definitely see my academy growing. I see myself hosting conferences with breakout sessions, focusing on mind, body, and soul, because I think a lot of us, well, I would say for me, Jesus is my CEO. I always say that God is my CEO of my business. And I want to host a conference, or I will host a conference where I'm able to really express myself and to allow others to do the same. And more events, you know, networking events. I just believe in the power of proximity and networking. And you know, hopefully also, like I said, improving my skills with like sales copy, marketing, and be able to, anything that I learn, I want to give back. And specifically, like I said, for the notary industry. So yeah, I definitely see myself doing that. And I have thought about, you know, well, my husband and I have talked about a title company. He has been offered the opportunity multiple times. They've pitched the idea. He doesn't want to be a fee attorney or do that, but there's a workaround there. So if, you know, God opens the doors for us, and like I said, the opportunity's there, but it's not always about just jumping on, you know, the next best thing. It's, you know, having a strategy. And so, you know, that would be, I can absolutely see myself having that space to train and give notaries the opportunity that I was given, right, to go direct and to educate. And yeah, so.
You got to be in alignment. If you're not in alignment, it just doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah.
Where can the people find you? Where can, if they want to
get. And also, I meant to include, sorry, and also to teach other seasoned notaries to start their own academy or teach their own classes, because that was one thing that I did not find was, how do I teach? How do I create a program, right? And so that is something that I want to do. And I'm sorry, what your question was, where can they find?
Yeah, where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you? Where can they tap in with you?
So definitely I'm more active on Instagram. It's at notary, the number 4 me _. So notary for me. You can find me notary for me on Facebook as well. I do also have a group exclusively for events. So if anybody wanted to join on Facebook, it's called the Notary Network Group. So I started that. And so anytime I have an event, sometimes I'll drop a special code in there for anything that I host. So, you know, for a percentage off. But yeah, it's just a free networking group. And it's not your traditional group where you go in and ask questions. I don't like that. I'll just put that out there. I don't like that. I'm very blunt, I'm very honest. Like, I don't like posting to thousands of members. Hi, where do I need to attach a loose sleeve certificate? It's like, seriously. And even if it's a state specific group, we don't do that. And that's where my membership comes in. That's where, you know, my program comes in, because it's like, you're going to get all kinds of different responses, conflicting information. It just confuses the newbies. And so I don't do that. It's a notary network group where, like I said, if anyone knows of an event that's happening in the area, we're all in there. If someone needs a notary in their state or city, they can go in there. Hi, is anyone available near, this city and state, right? Hopefully signing services will be part of that so they can see, the notaries in there. Hi, is any Spanish speaking notaries available in this area, right?
Right.
So that's the idea behind why I started that. So yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I want to say thank you. I'm very grateful that you stopped by the Stanford podcast today to hear my pain about finding Spanish speaking notary. I appreciate you sharing your story about Airbnb. Like I said, that's not something that I haven't came across. I had a conversation about, so I appreciate you sharing your unique perspective and how you can offer that service as well. Before we wrap up, please make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google, make sure you give us a 5-star rating. Make sure you subscribe to our channel as well. Be on the lookout for a notary agency system. If you want to learn how to launch a notary agency without spending thousands of dollars in capital to get started, make sure you go to www.notaryagencysystem.com. I'm going to show you the 5-step system to outsource your notary signing so you can learn how to generate passive income so you can do more of the things that you love best. Me, myself, I've been a mobile notary, still actively a mobile notary. I know you all don't want to spend hours and hours on the road going to your signing. At some point, you want to be able to outsource some of those signings. So again, so you can take that time to recuperate, recover, and do more of what you love. Make sure you click the link. It'll be in the show notes. Thank you again. And until next time, y'all, peace.
Bye. Thank you.